Hello again, everyone. This is Zombie Kids Rule, and if it's not too loud in the house, I'm going to try to get another video done here. This is going to be a video on a simple camping system, and that's going to finish up pretty much all the stuff on this map that I had experimented with and played around with. So again, this is a simple camping system. You could do a lot of different things with this. You could implement this in a lot of different ways. You could add a lot of features to it, but this is just a very basic camping system, and then you decide what it is you want to have happen when you camp. So here we go. I'm going to show you what it does. And again, we're going to just ignore everything else that's happening on the map. Now, when I go over here and I select the campfire, it's going to give me my choices. This is what I've set up so far. So save, rest, cook, and leave. If I save, then it's going to ask me, do I want to save the game? If I say no, it backs out. If I say yes, it's going to take me to my save, so I could do that if I wanted to. If I want to rest, it's going to tell me you need a tent to rest. I don't have a tent, so I have to get a tent. And if I say cook, it says, hey, you need something to cook. Well, okay, so I'm going to have to find something to cook. And then leave is just back out, right? So I put in this treasure chest here what I needed. So raw fish times 3 was found, tent was found. And of course, that's going to be, you have to add those items to your database, of course. So now when I select this, I can cook if I want to. Would you like to cook something? No, I don't want to cook something. But you know what? I changed my mind. Yes, I do. You want to cook something? Yes. So have a little icon there, a little bubble icon. Your cooked fish smells delicious, and that's all it does for now because like I said, you can get fancy if you want to. Resting. I have a tent. Would you like to rest? Nope. Okay. Backs me out. I want to rest. Yes, I do. You notice that a tent appears, the player disappears, there's some Z's, the screen goes in and out, and then you get a message, the party recovered hit points, HP while resting. And there was a night background noise, and then that fades out. And that's the entire system right there. Again, you can make it more complicated, you can do more things with it, but that's just a quick little down and dirty, a few options that you can have. So what's going on here? Well, first, the treasure chest is just a regular treasure chest. You can basically, if you haven't done this before, you can just click on this, do quick event creation, treasure, and just randomly put something in it to begin with, and then it does the initial part for you. It does the sound effect, it does the animation for opening, it does its self switch for you, it changes your gold, and now this is where you just do whatever you want to do. You can get rid of that. You can add more things. You can change items, change weapons, change armor. You can do whatever you want to there. So if you haven't already seen that as a quick um, treasure chest creation, that's how you do it. And so all I did here was I added change items raw fish +3 because I created raw fish in my database, and then I created a tent, so I gave one to the player, and then I just did the text that tells them what they got. And then of course it turned its self switch A on, so it moves to the next page with a picture of a opened chest, right? So there's that, and that's just really quickly. And in the database, I'll show you for items. Again, I haven't messed around with the database very much. I've only done things that I absolutely have to do for experimentation and figuring things out. So here's my tent. You can find any icon. Probably you're going to want to maybe download some other icons that have more versatility. Give it a description. Generally it's going to be a regular item, it could be a key item, could be hidden item, whatever you want to do with it. But for the tent, not going to let them sell it. It's not going to be consumable, although you could have camping supplies that are consumable, and so when you use them once, they're gone. But this one isn't being used from the menu. So in this event, the way this is set up, the player can't decide just to camp anywhere. They have to camp at a campfire. You could do that differently if you wanted to, but that's just the way this is set up. So most of this other stuff doesn't apply, doesn't matter, because this is just an item that you're using. The raw fish is just raw fish. You can't do anything with it. It's not like you can use it in your menu. You can't do, it's not consumable, doesn't give you anything. It doesn't do anything until it's cooked. And then the cooked fish is, again, a separate item, and it is a regular item. We're not going to let them sell it, but it is consumable. You can always use it. It's the scope of the user, so whoever eats it is going to get the effect of it. It has a 100% success rate. It doesn't repeat. It's certain hit, and basically the effects are it's going to recover HP. Now, of course, you could do other things too, right? You could have it where you know, in your in your camping thing, if you have crafting, you could let your party craft. If you have alchemy, you could let them, do potions, and they could make potions. You could let them repair armor. You could let them study skills, practice. You could do anything you want. So those are my three required items to make this work. And then for the campfire itself, it looks long, but it's really not that complicated. You have your sprite image over here of a fire. It is walking, it is stepping, and it is direction fixed. The stepping gives its animation, so it looks like it's burning. The direction fix is very important because some of these animations, if you don't do direction fix, then it will actually cycle through different versions of itself. And I'll show that because if you turn off direction fix, the fire will actually go out. And maybe that's what you want it to do. It all depends. This is same as character, it's action button. The first thing we're doing here is we're establishing two variables, player position X and player position Y, and we're setting it to the map X of the player and the map Y of the player, right? So that's under variable, it's under game data, and when you go to game data, you have all of these things to choose from, and one of them is character and it's player, and then you can choose map X, map Y, direction, screen X, screen Y, etc. So the first thing we're doing, if this hasn't been already set up at the beginning of your game, if you don't have like a game manager or something that runs immediately and sets things up, we're setting these variables to the map X and map Y of the player because we're going to use that in just a minute. Then we're going to give them their choices, right? Show choices, and they are save, rest, cook, and leave. So again, here's my choices. There's 6 choices. Without plugins, you can actually have more than 6 choices. There are ways to do that without plugins. Or if you have more choices than this and you don't want to use a plugin, you can also use nested choices. So, maybe I have potion, alchemy, and I can make potions, and I have crafting, and I can, make different items. I have armor that can repair things. So maybe I have a choice of create. And then when they choose that, they get another branching choices that says, brew potion or, craft, whatever, arrows or whatever you want to do. So you could have nested choices to get more, or you could also get more choices without a plugin. But I'm not going to show you how to do that right now. And then, so after when you select these choices, it automatically does the when save, when rest, when cook, when leave. So the first one is when save, and just present the player with a text box. Would you like to save the game now? And then again, you give them a choice, yes or no. When yes, you open the screen save. That is actually a command, right, from one of the I'm looking for it. I always hate when I can't find stuff. Right here, open menu screen, open save screen, return to title screen. So this is where you can do different things. You can just open the save screen, let them save. When no, it's just going to end and it's going to go to the bottom of the event. So that's save, very easy. When rest, actually we'll go through rest now. This is probably the most complicated one. So the first thing it's going to do is a conditional branch if the party has a tent, right? Because remember I showed that I needed a tent. So we're going to skip that first because if you don't have a tent, it's going to jump to the else branch and it's going to say, hey, you need a tent to rest. And then it's going to end and go to the bottom of the event. If you do have a tent, then it's going to ask you, would you like to rest now? And you're going to be presented with choices, yes or no. When no, it's just going to end, and then it's going to go, continue on through the event to see if there's anything else to do. If you say yes, then I'm turning off all of my day-night switches, right? So that was a different tutorial. I have a day-night system running here. There's morning, afternoon, evening, and night. And because it cycles through common events running in parallel, I'm going to turn all of them off because I don't know what time of day it is when the player chooses to camp and when they choose to rest. So I'm just going to turn them all off. Then I'm turning on the switch party camping is on. And I'll show you why in a minute, because that's actually going to be used to get that tent to appear. Turn transparency on for the player, so the player disappears. And at roughly the same time, because it's happening so quickly, we're using the command set event location, and we're choosing an event called camping. So over here, you see event 11 is camping. And basically, we're saying we're going to set the event of camping to the player position X and the player position Y, which is the map X of player and map Y of player. So what that does is when the player disappears, this set event location essentially places the camping event on top of the player, who's now invisible. Okay? And when we edit it, you can see when you're doing the set event location, you can pick any event on this map, and then you can either direct designate it or you can use it variables, which is why I made those variables player position X and player position Y. You can also exchange it with another event. That would be a different tutorial where basically you're swapping two events, location places. And then the direction, you can choose retain, left. It all depends on what you're swapping or what you're moving, and doesn't really matter in this instance. So that's how you're going to move the camping event, which is the picture of the tent, on top of the player. The background sound for night starts. That's where you get those like owls hooting and stuff. We tint the screen so that it appears to be nighttime. We show the balloon icon of the player over the player where the player is invisible, right, which is actually coming out of the tent now, and it shows the Z's for sleeping. We fade out the screen, and then we wait for 1 second, and then we fade the screen back in, so it goes black and then it comes back. Then we're going to turn the party camping switch off because that is going to get rid of our tent that appeared on the map. And as that tent disappears, we're going to change the transparency of the player off so that the player will come back right where they were, right where the tent was. And then you can do anything you want here, right? I just changed the HP of the entire party by plus 50. You could do removal of stats. You could heal just anything you wanted to, right? So that is a choice, right? You can do either entire party or different members. You can increase, you can decrease, you can use a constant, you can use variables. So there's lots of things you could choose, right? And you could change their MP, their TP, their states. You could recover all, right, and just give them everything back. So you could do all these different things as part of that. Then you're going to show a text. Hey, the party did something while it was sleeping, right? They recovered things. Maybe they crafted a potion. Maybe they studied something because they weren't just sleeping. They were resting, right? So they were doing things while they were resting. So you would just tell them what they achieved or whatever. Then the background sound of that night fades out. And then because the presumption is regardless of when they chose to rest, they rest until morning. So I'm turning the it is morning back on so that my day-night system kicks back in and runs automatically in the background. So that is what happens when you have a tent and you choose to rest. So when you choose when cook, right, it's going to look and say if the party has raw fish. And if the party does not have raw fish, right, or first of all, when they say no, it's just going to end and go down to the end, which is actually the end of the event. If they don't have fish, then it's going to tell you, hey, you need something to cook, right? Or basically, if you could cook other things. It depends on what you have in your system. And then, if your party has something, right? So if you were going to cook more than one thing, you'd have to have more options than this. And then you'd say, hey, do you want to cook something now? Answer yes or no. If you had more things to cook, you might have to give them a choice of what they wanted to cook. And then when they say no, it's going to basically end. If they say yes, then it is going to fade out the screen, fade in the screen. It is going to show the balloon icon of the player with that little light bulb, like, "Hey, I did something cool. I managed to do something." Then it's going to subtract a raw fish from your inventory because you got to remember to take away what they cooked, and it's going to give them a cooked fish. So now they have a cooked fish in their inventory. And then you just give them feedback. Hey, your cooked fish smells delicious. And that's this event. It's one page. It does all of that. Now the only thing that's missing is this over here, the camping event. And so this is an invisible event. It has no image to begin with. And again, normally I would put this someplace where the character doesn't walk, like a black border area or something. So on page 1, that's active in the beginning. It's below characters. There's nothing that's going to happen. You can't interact with this. But when that party camping switch is turned on, then page 2 activates and this image appears. And as that image is appearing below characters, right? As that image is appearing, the other event is setting this event location to where the player disappeared. So this image appears, instead of appearing up here where the event is, it's going to appear right where the character was standing. Wherever the character was standing, it will appear. Okay? And that's all that event is doing. And once the party camping switch is turned off by the other event, then it will switch back to page 1, and it's like it's not even there anymore. So you can call that as many times as you want, and that's the entire system. So if you want, so here's one thing I'll say: if you didn't want to use a campfire, if you wanted to let the party camp anywhere they want, you could do that. On this map, you could do it very easily. You could simply allow them to use the tent, right? And they would then be able to use it from their inventory. And you would have to have a separate, like probably a common event or something that would run when you activate the tent to start camping. And that's all fine. The challenge is, of course, that this right here is unique to this map. So if you want to do the whole fancy, it's not really that fancy, but if you want to do the, make a tent appear, make the player disappear, then in theory you'd have to do this event on every single map that you wanted to do, or you'd have to find another way to do it, right? You'd have to find some other option to do that imagery that you wanted, where the player was sleeping and camping. And there's other ways to do it, but I just wanted to mention that. The one other thing I will show you here is what happens when you take this direction fix off. So if we take this direction fix off, and then we go engage with the campfire, watch what happens. We put the fire out because the direction fix is making it so it stays on the image that we chose. Okay, and essentially, I'm going to put direction fix back on before I forget. But when we go here, there is an option for I'm sorry, that was the campfire underneath, and so underneath this fire is the regular campfire, right? Is the regular campfire. So that's what's happening when we turn that direction fix off. It's moving this image to another, essentially what appears to be a blank image, and then or maybe it's this image right here where it's like nothing but smoke, and what you're seeing is the original campfire underneath on the map right here, this campfire. Okay, that's what you're actually seeing. It's here somewhere. Um, yeah, it's one of these right here. So you're seeing that instead of the burning campfire. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, and there's other ones where, like for instance, there's an enemy that if you don't use direction fix, it will actually cycle through the big enemies. It'll actually cycle through them, and it's like whoa, whoa, whoa! I didn't want that to happen. That was unexpected. So anyway, I hope this helps. This is again a fairly simple camping system. You could do a lot more with it depending on what you want your player to be able to do in your game. And if you didn't want to stick with a campfire, if you wanted to let them camp anywhere you wanted to, you would have to approach it a little differently. You'd have to let them use the tent, for instance, from their menu, and then you'd have to trigger, like a common event or something to do the whole choices of what you're doing while you're camping. So there's other ways. I'm sure there's other tutorials out there about camping systems, and there's plugins, of course. But these are how to do things without using plugins. I hope this was helpful. If it was, awesome. Leave me a comment. Let me know. If the videos on this channel are helpful to you, like, subscribe, get notifications, and leave comments. Let me know your thoughts. I have seen a couple dislikes on some of the videos, which that's cool. I mean, if you don't like them, if they're not helpful to you, if they're not fancy enough as far as like the maps and all that other stuff, that's fine. This is all about just getting the information out there that I would have found helpful when I was starting, and if it's helpful to somebody else that's starting out, that's my intent. And not everybody has to like these. That's okay. It's good with me. I'm having fun making these. So thanks again, folks. I'm glad you found me. Watch my other videos. I hope they're helpful for you. Happy gaming, happy game development, and I will see you again in another video. Thanks a lot, folks.